This is the Infinite Podcast with my traveling buddy Øystein Rabbe and myself, Ulf Tønderflittig. We're philosophers going into the great unknowns of our inside and our outside. In this episode, we have Kristian Trejos as our guest. And as it turns out, he is actually my cosmic brother. Now, we'll continue our conversation about Ayahuasca, and we'll have some wonderful insights, and I think it's quite the tale, I must say, and I'm glad you're listening. Enjoy.
The last sound check.
The lasts. The first shall be the last.
It's only now. That's all there is.
The meek shall inherit the sound check.
The sound check.
I think we're rolling.
Yeah.
Welcome to our humble abode, Kristian.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So wonderful to have you here today. My galactic brother.
Yeah, I know. Or do I?
Who knew?
Yeah. It hasn't integrated properly.
It's harder to integrate than you would think, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it's such a out of this world concept, wouldn't you say, Rabbe?
Yeah, I would say so.
And that it is, man. When it kind of hits me now when I think about it, you know. That crazy reunion we had.
Yeah. It was like we'd known each other forever. Been there for each other.
Mm-hmm.
At all times. It's divine, man.
And the biggest thing I remember is the unconditional love part.
Oh, yeah.
Because, let's face it, we were total strangers before that.
We'd never met.
No.
Ever.
I think we greeted when we came in the door, because I was in a group that came in fairly late.
Yes.
The second day. Yeah, because you came in on Thursday, right?
I was there the first day.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna rewind the story a bit.
Yeah, let's do that.
That's a good teaser. Yeah.
Let's
nice.
start.
Because this was my second Ayahuasca trip.
Yeah.
Or retreat or ceremony.
Yeah.
I had known for quite a while that I was going. Yeah. Initially, I was going last summer, but it got cancelled last minute.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the opportunity came up, I was like, yes, I'm ready.
Mm.
And it was a 3-day event. I was like, I'm going to do all 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I went traveling with Mother Ayahuasca, I did it for a 1-day event, which was, well, a transformative experience, to say the least. But I always felt like I hadn't completed the cycle, or that sort of was only...
There was more to
the journey than this, or more to my search was not over.
Oh, no, definitely not.
So I came on a Thursday, and I think on these trips, it's always felt important to me to have like an intention.
Mm.
So the first time I went, at that point it was like, who are you, Ulf?
Mm.
Who are you? That was like my question to the plant medicine. And that time I traveled with Øystein, who was the one who sort of the guy I asked, like, do you know anything about this Ayahuasca thingies? It feels like I'm going, and
I remember. I remember you were really skeptical, but also
I was so skeptical.
I think I need to do this.
People talk about the calling Like they get the urge to go. Like there's something just pulling you there, right?
Yeah. It's quite the gravitational field, yeah.
Yeah.
But so the first time you asked me, I remember I was like, no, I don't want to do this. And then it was like, I'm ready.
Yeah.
And
it's also interesting because, I remember it now that the first time I was actually relieved that you were not wanting to go, because then I could more easily say, okay, I don't need to do it again now. But when you kind of change your mind again and saying, okay, I want to do it, I also realized, I'm coming back as well.
Yeah, because it's not for the faint of heart.
It is not for the faint of heart, no.
I think all the three of us can agree on that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. But now was your first time doing it?
Yeah, this is my first time.
Have you known about it for a long time, or is it how was the introduction to it?
Man, the first time I heard about ayahuasca in general it had to be like 6 or 7 years ago, like at the beginning of the awakening, like maybe even before that. I remember, having this affinity towards, the natives, so to speak. But, I knew that they were, conducting some sort of ritual, like with plants and stuff. But at that time, before my awakening in like 2012, beginning of 2013, I didn't, know much about it at all. But it wasn't long after, let's say it was 2013, early 2013, and like the plant medicine and ayahuasca, it came knocking pretty quickly. And a big chunk of me just said, you need to do this at a point in time.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's, it's easing you into it. And I got the opportunity, actually. I've gotten the offer maybe 3 times at different periods of that time between 2013 and now. And I remember this one time, I had this good friend of mine. He asked, you want to go to Bergen to do this?
Oh.
And I know a real good shaman and all that. And my whole body was like shaking. I was like, and I usually don't do that, but like my body gives me really clear direction. And this was not the time. Not at all. And I remember feeling that, it was like a tremor throughout my body. And I was like, holy cow. You don't mess with this energy, man. You got to be ready. So this was my first time. And it had been, it was a long time coming, but I remember I call her my soulmate because that's the only, reasonable expression to use. I could say my girlfriend. I could say a lot of things, my chick, but I like to use my soulmate because that's really what she is. And I know she came up to me and she was like, oh, I got an email. And this was right after we had moved from Oslo to live at my mother-in-law's.
Wow.
And she'd actually been planning for like 3 years or so to have her own mother participate in all this.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, wow. And everyone I told was like, wow, is she coming too? I remember even getting there. Everyone was like, is she going to participate? Like, she's not leaving? She's doing
chaperoning?
this? Yeah, she's actually, she's going for it. And I don't know, I guess I kind of felt that, my soulmate had this expectation that, the ayahuasca could, be like a miracle cure for, certain things between her mom and her. So, but that sadly wasn't the case. But then again, she said, man, I got this offer. And she was on this mailing list. And this was, as far as I know, a rather exclusive mailing list, with like not a whole lot of people on it. So once the mail came in, she was like, "Oh, I got to do this," and instantly, like she didn't even finish the sentence. I was like, "I got to go. This is it," and everything just perfectly aligned Like even at that time, I remember it was kind of a chaotic time because we just decided, to move to Costa Rica. And I was like, man, can we fit this in? Is this gonna work? Blah blah blah. Can I afford this? La la la. But it just I just went with it, and that's been like the theme of my life for the past like maybe 4 months. Props to Nike. Just do it. Just follow your flow. Follow the flow of life. So I did. And I wound up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Forever grateful for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something about the thing you're saying about how you see how things just align themselves. Yeah. There is something so divine about like just like the bigger picture. There's like, well, I think I called it a beautiful symphony because it's like everything is just falling into place and like settling, and then it's pure perfection. In its craziness, but still perfection.
And you do have a choice. You can go ahead and worry all you like, and have like 1,000 different worries about 1,000 different things. But at the end of the day, once at least it is like that for me. Once I go into myself, not away from myself, I always find that just come on, man, just trust it. Yeah, just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Like even in the worst of situations, you could get mugged on the street like at gunpoint, and you could be like, dude, it's just a game. It's just, don't take this too seriously. But your body, on the other hand, would be like, oh man, shit. So it's a beautiful symphony, and it's also a dance with like so many parts of yourself combined into this like spiritual package.
Yeah.
That's right here.
The meat package.
Yeah, the meat package.
The meat mobile.
Yeah.
This vessel right here. Yeah.
And so let's hear about the ceremony.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was there the first day. It was so this is wintertime Norway.
Oh yeah.
We're in a small church actually, or a chapel.
Yeah.
And
in the middle of freaking nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, in the woods.
And there's like the snow there's a lot of snow.
It's
but
thick,
it's
man.
very like picturesque.
It is.
And we're I don't know, maybe 20, 25 people the first night. And so the shaman who came in from Colombia.
Yeah.
Taita.
Salvador, I think his name is his last name, because they're all Taitas.
They're all Taitas, yes. And it's like first you meet up and people talk about like, maybe you've been to this before, and this is my first time, this is my second time, and what they sort of want to achieve or what they want to be working at. And I think it's like, you feel that there's a sense of everyone's there for a reason.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not it doesn't feel random at all. It feels very like, okay, we're here, all gathered in this like, at this ceremony, and there's this. There's some seriousness to it all, right? Like the process of the not process, but the rituals.
Oh yeah.
Which I the first time I was there, at first I was like, oh, rituals, that's so silly. That's so. Why do we do rituals? Just get to the point.
Yeah, let's get it over with.
But the ritual is so like crucial to the whole experience. Definitely. So like maybe like at 9 p.m. in the evening, you will start like settling in, and you will do rape?
I think it was that.
Which is like a spice that the shaman blows up your nose.
Ooh, man, that was feisty.
And you'll feel that all the way to the back of your or brain, and then sort of it'll just tingle down your entire body. Now, Øystein, you've never tried rape?
No, I never. I'm too scared.
Man, that's
yeah.
You're missing out on some.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
that's
the
like
fisherman's friend for the brain.
It's a little chili pepper, like a little chili pepper bullet, like boom, right into your nostril. It's just, but it really opens you up though, doesn't it?
does.
Right.
I don't know why I'm so scared of it, because I like fishermen, and I also see how everyone that does it is so happy about it. Like not in the moment, but afterwards, like 2 minutes afterwards, they say, "Oh, this is amazing."
Yeah, it's very like. But yeah, and so this was the last time I went to an Ayahuasca ceremony. I was there with my good friend Rabbe. So I had like a traveling companion.
Yeah.
But this time around, I went all alone.
You went solo.
I went solo. And even though I was like, oh, I wish Rabbe was there.
Yeah.
At the same time, when they said no, I was like, yes, you're going to do this alone. I also asked another good friend of mine who was like, no, I'm not ready. And I was like, yes, I'm ready. This is my journey. And so the first time,
dude.
It was, who are you?
Yeah.
And the answer was, you're everything, right? And I was like, well, what do you know?
Funny enough, that's the first thing I got as well. Only a little jacked up, but you know.
And second time, my intention was like, what's my purpose?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm everything, but that's all fine.
What to do about it?
What to do about it?
Yeah, what am I going to do?
What am I going to
everything,
do
you know?
inside this thing? And while I was like preparing, I was like, last time I was like, that was quite the question to ask, because the answer was quite like that was quite the experience because everything is a lot, and I was like, maybe I should like tone it down a bit. I was like, no, this is why you're here.
All right.
And so the question was very clear, and people start walking up to the shaman to drink the ayahuasca, which is a thick,
the muddy tea,
the mud.
The mud,
Yeah, the mud.
Jesus, it's thick, man.
Yeah.
It's thick. That's the only word to describe it. It's filthy thick, right?
Yeah. It's.
There's really nothing like it. Like,
and it tastes,
no beverage, no
like
smoothie.
Everything.
You can't even you can't cook that up at home, man. You just have to.
Yeah,
it's a one of a kind, really.
And so I drank the brew. Taita gave it to me, and
drank the Kool-Aid.
Drank the Kool-Aid, and I went back to my mattress. Everyone has their separate mattress, and everyone has their, of course, separate
puke bucket.
Puke buckets.
And a little roll of toilet paper too.
Yes.
I was so happy for that. I was so relieved when I got it because that was a winner.
And so, well, like anything you ingest, it'll take about an hour for it to kick in. And the first time, I was really afraid of vomiting.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, everyone is. Come on.
I don't know why, but we hate vomiting, right?
Yeah.
It's not our favorite pastime. And
no, it's not.
And then I was like, the first time, I was like, okay, so if you want to vomit, and before things started, they would typically say, like, remember, your journey is inwards.
Yeah.
So if you need to make a lot of noise, or you can go to the restroom or go outside. Now, obviously, this was in the winter, so going outside was not an option.
No, right.
But the first time I was like, okay, so when I puke, I'm gonna go outside.
Yeah.
Only thing was, by that time I was incapable of movement.
Yeah, right.
So my journey had already started. So the whole puking thing became sort of a cosmic joke. Like, what do you care if you puke or not? That's such a redundant question in
it's
itself.
Totally indifferent.
So the first time I puked, not into a bucket, but I just puked, and the effect of puking was the same as in the first Matrix film.
Oh, wow.
When he takes the pill, and everything turns into like metal.
Yeah, right.
And the camera just goes into Neo's mouth, and the sound feedbacks into itself. just like that.
Man, thinking of it like that, that's a really awesome feat to do in film. I haven't seen that movie in forever, though. I should see it.
Yeah, you should see it again. Yeah, it's a good film.
Man,
but so I puked out myself.
Yeah.
And I was the singularity.
I'm trying to picture this, like, Jesus.
Yeah, I think if you film it, it would look just like a drunken man puking on himself. But my experience was quite the extraordinary, because I left my body and I sort of puked myself out of my body.
That's crazy.
And I experienced the universe being born and reborn and everything.
Oh damn! You went far out.
It was pretty sweet. That was the first time. And so the second time I was like, okay, it's fine if you want to puke, Ulf.
Yeah.
You can even take a shit.
Yeah, you can shit yourself.
But you can go to the restroom. That's okay.
I heard so many people are afraid of shitting themselves. I wasn't, though. That didn't even cross my mind. But
you know, the moment it crosses your mind, it becomes a thing. And then it becomes, oh.
That was a huge one for me.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't think about this, because when I think about it now, I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
But this time around, I was like, well, I can make a conscious decision.
Yeah.
It's like when you're sleeping, right? If you sense that you have to go to the toilet, you're like, oh wait, I'm dreaming. I can go to the toilet.
Yeah.
Stop the dream. So I was very like conscious of that, and so a while in, I felt like, okay, I need to go to take a leak. So I went and started peeing, and then the room started sort of melting all around me, and was like, okay, so I think it's kicking in now. So,
totally normal. Yeah.
and so as I was like, okay, settle down.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish in the restroom, wash my hands. I'll go back. I'll sit down.
Like a proper gent.
Then we can start the journey. Because it's very gentle. That's my like, it's not like ripping the rug from out under you. It's very like, are you ready to venture into, like, are you ready? And that was at least my...
At least before it starts, it's gentle.
It's very like gentle. When it starts...
Not necessarily afterwards. So.
It might be a bit rough.
Yeah.
So I went back and...
The pause button. Did you find it?
The pause button?
Yeah.
Yeah, the pause button works just fine. You just have to be very clear.
Was there a pause button?
Yeah. But I had to be like, okay, so we're not going to start a journey here in the toilet. I'm going to go back to the mattress. So I spoke out loud and was like,
proper manners.
This is what we're going to do now. So and I went back, sat down, and I took the puke bucket, set it in my lap. Now the puke bucket was actually a wastebasket I stole from work because I'd forgotten. But it was the perfect size. Yeah, so I had that on my lap.
Nice.
And typically a Ayahuasca experience will start with like shapes and fractals and patterns and
like sacred geometries and
what I call the 4K experience.
4K.
Because it's so friggin' vibrant and high definition that you're like, wow.
Is there a term for like the amazing colors that comes back to 4K and TV's standards, like true colors? Or,
in true color.
Super
HDR,
triple mega
HDR,
high definition.
Yeah.
Ultra high, super resolution.
You got to throw in all the superlatives in there. Just
that film standard? That's something like color.
Technicolor?
Yeah, Technicolor.
Yeah, Technicolor,
yes,
right.
Technicolor.
Yeah.
But up a notch. And so you start like seeing fractals, and then the whole room turns into fractals.
Yeah.
And the bucket is sort of like a bottomless pit of fractals.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, it seems like the puking is not interesting this time around. So I put the bucket aside and I lie down and I sort of go on my journey.
Yeah.
And so when the journey starts, it's like I'm right back where I stopped the last time.
Oh yeah, you just.
So it's like I've been working, like into myself about like, okay, so you're everything. You're the thing that's the thing, and all of that. And I was like, just back there, and I'm like, oh shit, what about those 3 years? What? And which was such a relief, because what I'd felt between the two experiences was like, well, is any of this real?
Yeah.
Because I'd sort of left like the process halfway, and like the pot was still stirring, and I was like, did I leave the oven on? I don't know.
I mean, time is the biggest loser in all of this, because at the end of the day, everyone who's there knows, like, they know she's fake. She's not even real. Mother time, father time it is, It's not even real. So you didn't even leave it. You just, I don't know, you just cheated. Like, you're human. You experience time. That's cheating, man. Like, nobody else can do that, but we're stuck here in time. So, yeah. You were just being you, I guess.
Yeah.
For a while.
But so I was like, so what's my purpose? And then at first it became sort of, shall we say, scary. It was like a huge snake sort of coiling around itself, and it was hiding and reappearing, and it was like, I was sort of like, well, is this good, or is it bad, or is it neither? And after a while, it just became very clear that the whole there is nothing to fear. That's the whole experience is both, and sort of
like, how big was it? The snake?
Oh, it's a big snake.
Was it coiling like around you?
Well, I wasn't anything in particular.
Oh, you were just.
I was just like an observing.
I feel like there's always a snake, though.
Yes.
Like every time.
The snake, I believe, is central in most of our profound experiences.
I heard someone mentioning that the ayahuasca, like the spirit, like people believe it's like a snake.
Yeah.
Like the reincarnation of a spirit sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like the mother, she appears like in a snake skin, snake form. Yeah. Which is actually funny, We're going to tell this story, but it's kind of a synchronicity. Moving on, to our reunion. We're getting there, folks.
We're getting there. But it's a long journey.
We'll have to start slow. It's important to not, go full on at the beginning.
We need to build this.
Yeah, we need to build this because
step by step.
That's the way life works,
But it was so it was sort of like well, all my fears, I confronted them, realizing that it was only love.
All right.
And like the dragon was so big and so scary, but it was just love. Nice. And then a
dragon too, huh?
Yeah.
Wings and everything.
Oh, the full,
like Khaleesi, full on.
Full dragon.
Draneris. No. What's the name? Jesus, those things are huge. Like Game of Thrones dragons?
But I haven't seen Game of Thrones, but yes.
Okay, I'm just I'm speechless for a second. Have you seen the dragons though?
I've seen
because they're amazing, dude.
Yeah. But it was all like myth and real life.
Yeah.
Everything just melted into one, and it was all real, but also it was all of the dangers, like all the reasons for not venturing into the unknown became sort of like a joke, because why wouldn't you want to experience this? and while I was waiting for it to kick in, I would, as a mantra, ask for the support of everyone I could think of.
All right.
Of my friends, of my family members, of just people whom challenged me or whatever. I would say, I know you're here, I know you're with me, and also my my dead relatives and just like my lineage, and
Yeah.
I had them very like present, which I thought, like thinking back, was a very like a good like mantra coming in, because what I experienced was like the pain and suffering of friends and relatives,
Okay.
but also all the love that was there,
Mm-hmm.
and like we'll call it the sacrifice
Oh, yeah.
that we like, the love that we give each other through our sacrifices, and it was like a symphony, the whole thing. Now, parallel to this, so I was not puking and not shitting myself, but everyone else, it sounds like, is puking,
Yeah.
while the shaman and some of some other people are playing music.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a symphony of vomiting.
As assistants, right?
His assistants,
Or
yes.
The ones who were helping.
Yeah. They're playing the guitar, the harmonica, the drums, they're chanting, and together with the puking and guttural sounds. And now, ayahuasca puking is not like...
No, it's way different.
It's got
A bit
like
different,
that's got a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah.
It's like full on body puking. It's like you're being puking.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
full on every
So
cell of your
puking.
body, because there's so much healing to it, right?
Yeah, it's very...
It's just like,
And you hear like at this like parallel to, you hear all this suffering,
Mhm.
but you also hear this lightness and this thankfulness, and
Yeah.
it's so much love there. But it was like a symphony, and I was just enjoying myself immensely, and I was playing hide and seek with myself, and I was loud, so everyone else came over and like, "Oof, it's an inward journey. Relax. Keep it
I
down."
want to be awkward?
And I was like, yell at me. Come on, give it your worst shot.
You were
There is
taunting
no
them.
more fear anymore. You can like stab me. It doesn't matter anymore. And
Nothing is real.
and then at some point, now time again, I think leave time out of this, because trying to retell the experience in itself, well, what happened when, I don't know.
I mean, time, you're grounded.
Yeah,
Like,
you can take a time out, actually.
you can go in the corner and just stay there for the
Chill out.
entirety of this.
But I was born.
Oh.
Now, the first time I also had the sensation of birth, but this time it was my birth. I was born.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. And so, when I was born, I peed myself. Now, coincidentally, when Ulf was born in this physical world, that's the first thing he did. So he
Right.
peed himself.
Did you remember that? Like,
Well, I don't remember, but this is, my dad's favorite story, of course.
Oh, wow.
You came out and you were peeing, like a meter high, like...
like for real, you did that?
Yeah.
That's-
Wow.
It's quite...
that's
but
awesome.
so
Freedom.
So when I woke up after the whole experience,
Mm-hmm.
which left me feeling that I had found my purpose, but I had no idea what the purpose
Yeah.
was. I feel like I got it, but I don't get it.
Maybe.
And I woke up like, waking up from an ayahuasca, from my experience, is like waking up after, I don't know, you've died.
Yeah.
Because you're like, the first time I was like, there's no way I survived that. Because the whole thing imploded. It was reborn.
Yeah.
I'm just back here.
How can that be,
How can
right?
that be? and I was like, oh, I'm back here again. Oh, and then both times came what I would call the flow of shame,
Oh wow.
because I was like, what did you do now? What did you do to these other people? What happened here? Like,
Yeah.
what did you yell at? You were too loud. You were a nuisance. Like, your ego was very quick in and like,
Yeah.
you shouldn't have done that, bro. And I was like, and this was the second time, which I think was good. So I was like, this is normal. This is okay.
Humility, though, right?
Yeah, humility.
Yeah.
Like, so it was fine. And then I was like, I didn't puke myself. And then I'm like, why
Quick
am I
check.
wet? And I'm like, oh, I peed myself.
Yeah.
And then I started laughing, and I sort of looked around at the other people, and you realize almost instantaneously that we've been journeying together.
Yeah.
Even though their journey is completely different, and like me telling me what happened in my journey wouldn't be like, oh yeah, that happened in mine too. It's not like a shared that type of experience, but they were there for me, and I were there for them. And like I remember someone told me, because they complained to Taita about someone screaming so loud. It's like, well, that's what the others need right now as well.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
even though like the idea is to keep it to yourself
Yeah.
when someone shouts out loud, that's also part of everyone else's process. So like just a sense of we've all been on this journey together, and we've all helped each other on our journey.
Yeah, right.
And that feeling was really good. And I went around and hugged a couple of people whom I'd sort of had like these like connections with, and it felt like really good. And like you feel like just a love. It's just like it's just tingling like in the entire room, like someone like dropped an atom bomb of love. And like even though people are like a mess because they've been puking their hearts out and like they haven't slept because this goes on for like 8 hours.
Yeah,
so this
does.
is like 6-7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And it looks like well, people are just like,
I was only there for 1 day, but now it really dawned on me. Holy hell. I mean, the people who are there for like 3 days,
yeah,
they're troopers, man.
they're
I mean,
they're
you can forget about sleep, dude. That's like, no.
yeah.
Well, maybe your body will tire after like, I don't know. Maybe you'll drop of exhaustion, you know. You'll just switch off for a couple of hours and then.
Yeah, but I guess it's also like one part is that it is kind of taking a lot of energy to do that much healing work.
Yeah, right.
But it also fills you up, with new energy. So
it kind of
there
does,
is a balance. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was caked after like one time though. Like after the one time.
It's
But I remember, funny thing, you should bring that up about the love for everyone around, because when I got in there the second day, I don't know if the residual energy, like I felt the residual energy of the past night, but I remember having this huge like amount of respect for every single one in the room, and I was like, damn, we're in this together.
yeah.
And I'm all about there's no coincidence. Like there is no such thing as coincidence, really. So I was like, you're here for a reason. I know everyone's here for a reason. And I freaking respect you so much. I was like, that was, and especially after the rapé.
Yeah.
I was like, I love you guys so much. I don't even know who you guys are, but damn. I mean, that was the feeling I had.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was, it was shared.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole room was filled with that, to me.
Yeah, but it was. But I think beyond that room even. So I guess the problem is that it's in a...
It's not contagious enough, right?
But still, at our point of impact, I think the whole world felt that shit, man. That was some...
But
that was under it.
the whole thing about making sound, I just think it's so interesting. Like, also comes to the group as not being a coincidence. Yeah. It's like I've been one of those guys who screams a lot,
Yeah, the noisy ones.
The noisy ones. And it's interesting to be that person and go through the reactions of other people. And one of my most intense outward experiences was triggering. One certain person was really triggered about it. Not to my face in that sense, but the day after, he was kind of going through something with that.
Right.
He had a...
It got to him, right?
He had a profession, and he was a very professional guy, and he also had this fear of the police going to show up or something. And what happened after the next night, day number 2, I was doing it 2 nights, and so was he. He came and thanked me that I was that guy because he needed to go through what got triggered in him. You know?
Right.
So I think it's interesting that also when you, Ulf, now, I wasn't at this event that you were at the ceremony.
No.
But it sounds to me that this event now had more of that kind of you shouldn't make sound idea. Maybe it's because it's in a place where actually people living close by. I don't know, but is there people around?
No. This was in a remote location.
Yeah.
But I do recall them saying that when we, like my first time around as well, try to
try not to speak,
because I did
try not to make too much noise.
I've always heard that advice,
Yeah.
But in most of because I think at 4 of my, at least 3 of my journeys was kind of an outward.
Yeah.
The first 4 times I did it, and I think I done it 6 times, was very outward. And the first 2 times, I never got a complaint from anyone.
No.
But I was the one doing that sort of thing,
Right.
And the next 2 times was this that I just told you about. But all the times, I've got they said it in the beginning that you should try to keep quiet and respect everyone else's journey. But actually, one thing that I think there was a huge shift in my journey, which was at some point, I think it was day 2 in that experience I just told about with this guy. One of the what do you call it, hosts that was holding the event.
Yeah.
He was coming to me. I was lying outside on a bench, face down on the bench, screaming and screaming, and my head was going in loop. Like, that.
Yeah, you were stuck in a loop.
Yeah, stuck in a loop, and it's so tiring and so frustrating, just coming back to the same question, the same place, the same thing over and over and over again.
That's horrifying, dude.
And I was screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming and talking. I mean, I had to talk out all my different kind of egos fighting each other, about what's the truth or what's this or what's that, and all these things. And he was he was stopping by my side, and he was getting eye contact and just telling me, okay, now this is enough. This is over the line, it's enough.
He put his foot down.
Yeah. But I was so grateful for that experience because he was just showing up with presence, like saying, okay, stop. And that was my saving moment in terms of, okay, I don't need to go in this loop.
All right.
You've been tormenting yourself enough.
Someone was coming with presence saying, you don't need to do this. And I was like, he didn't use those words, but that was the power that presented in my experience, So that was probably one of the most helpful experiences I had, actually, come to think about it now.
Your cake, you were like a cake that needed slicing, and he was like the proverbial knife, like, here's a piece. Everyone take a piece.
So my experience was like, okay, this is it's actually been a huge part of my spiritual awakening, that coming to that realization that spirituality is not just about, letting go.
No.
It's also about fucking masculine power, like here, now.
Yeah.
So that was really like an anchor point for me.
Wow. And being able to like receive that power, that's like, that's a skill. To receive someone else's bad criticism, or just taking it like, oh man, I love that, thank you, like it's the worst rap present ever, but you freaking treasure that.
And come to think about it now, it's the same guy who did that, helping me in that moment. Same kind of night. It's probably the same night or the night before, I don't know. He was helping with me with another thing that was really powerful. I was trying to puke, and I was trying to puke. I couldn't do it. I was standing outside and just holding my balance, and I was waiting for this, deep stuff coming, super puke.
Waiting for that, like, push.
And I was trying to force it out of me.
Oh man.
And it was terrible,
It's like the worst feeling.
And he was coming he was coming by my side and just, okay, calm down. You're gonna puke when you're gonna puke, and you don't need to try to do it.
It's also simple
Until-
for this guy. He's he's got it all figured out.
Yeah. Yeah, but he was just saying the perfect things, you know,
Yeah.
because that kind of helped me to realize, okay, I'm trying to get it over with, but it's not working.
Right.
Because what happened after that was that I stopped trying, and then I just probably went a few minutes, and then everything just puked through me. And,
Yeah, right.
And I was over with it. There was nothing more of that kind of exact healing.
When you're talking
thing.
about this, I actually feel something, and it comes to me like it's the intention, not the thought.
Yeah.
It's like the intention that provides the action. Like
Yeah.
once you
Yeah.
decide, once you make your intent, instead of like being rumbling inside of your mind and fumbling around in there, you're just like, okay, and then it all just came, right? Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
It's powerful.
Intention, folks.
Yeah. I guess you have to actually gain the control. You have to let your mind has to let go of
Yeah,
the
right?
control, and then like you're in complete control.
It's so good to be
Dropping
reminded
some profound.
about these experiences. I
knowledge
haven't
here.
thought about it in a long time.
Yeah,
That's
recording it,
Yeah.
sharing it.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
sharing it. That's what's it. It's all about that, man. It's all about the
is
sharing.
caring.
Yeah.
Wow. But so the second day,
Yeah.
I was like, well, it did feel like, well, nothing's scary anymore. So, well, maybe I should just. What's gonna happen next? And I felt, in a strange way, I felt sort of alien, or like I felt a bit alone, like with the crowd, or I like excluded myself a bit and started reading a book and was like, but I was like, no, you need to do you're gonna do this.
Yeah.
You're gonna
We're
see
good
this
for
one
one more
through.
round.
And so when evening came, and I was like, that was my first time like doing 2 nights in a row. So I was like, okay. So this time around, you're gonna keep the journey inwards, and you're gonna focus on your breathing. Because that's one of the.
It's funny to me because I was there.
In the trip, that was Mother Ayahuasca's. She came to me and said, "Remember your breathing. Relax. Keep the journey inside yourself. That's okay." So the second night, I was very okay. I'm going to listen to what Mother Ayahuasca had to tell me, and secondly, I'm just gonna go where she takes me.
Yeah.
And because I've asked the question, still haven't quite. Like my intention was clear, but I didn't know what to sort of do about it.
Yeah.
So let's just show me. And it was. And I was like, if you want to puke, that's okay. If you want to take a shit, that's okay. We can go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
If you want to pee, that's also okay. We can go to the bathroom. I included that as well that time around because even though it's not as bad peeing yourself as it might seem, pee gets cold.
Oh yeah.
It's warm at first, it's comfortable, but after a while, it's not that cool.
No,
but,
it's not.
But and my routine was like the same as the night before. I called upon like Rabbe and my friends and my family, and I know you're here with me on this journey, and so I went to pee again, obviously, as my ritual had become, but no Mother Ayahuasca calling me in there, and I went back and sat down, and now this is actually this is a really fun coincidence. Because the first night, so this is a chapel. And so there's 20 people and the shaman Taita. He's at the end, like at the
altar, so to speak.
the altar of the thing.
Yeah.
And he's sitting at the altar.
'Cause there was a cross on the wall. Like,
There was a cross on the
that was
wall.
the end of the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then people are lined up on mattresses on the sides.
Mm-hmm.
So 20 people would be like 10 people on each side.
Mm.
And so I was on the left-hand side of the...
From the shaman's perspective, like
From
looking out.
No, then the right side. Sorry. Okay, so we say shaman's perspective, I'm on the right side, almost furthest away from the shaman.
Mm. Down by the fireplace. Or halfway in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the second day, coincidentally, I moved to the left side
Oh,
and much closer to the shaman.
right.
Now I'm actually moved now because where did you end up on the second day?
Well, I got there the second day.
Yes, and what your mattress was?
That was at the far end, like when you came in.
Yes, but it was also to the right.
It was on the left side. I was on the opposite side of you.
Yes,
Yeah.
but so from the shaman's perspective, on the right side,
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yes.
There was only one guy on my right, and then there was a wall of, almost looked like a fort of chairs. And
Yeah, because
everything.
we had to put like chairs
Yeah.
up to make room for
Yeah,
everything.
right.
Yeah,
Just, like put it on top of each other.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But so through these random events, I ended up much closer to the shaman and further away from you, which I find to be quite poetic when we come further along. This endless story that it's going to take like the rest of the evening to convey. Poor listeners, for us, I think this is very...
Hang in there, folks. It's
We're getting there, slowly getting there.
We're getting there.
But so I took my bucket and was sitting with the bucket on my lap and was like, "Yeah, we'll see what happens." And and then I felt like, well, you don't need the bucket, so I've set the bucket aside, and then you can just lie down. And I lie down, and I had my hands like across my chest, and I lie down, and I closed my eyes, and I was like, "We'll lie there, and we will see where the journey takes us." And
That's brave, though. Like knowing what you're going into.
yeah, and so I
mean, it's brave, dude. I gotta give it to you, man.
so interesting. I kept my eyes closed because I knew from experience that whether they're open or closed doesn't really make any difference.
No.
And so the 4K Technicolor super triangle crazy
Super mega badass definition high definition.
yes, it was rolling in on the big screen.
Wow.
And we sort of started off where I left off, but this time around it was like I knew the answer to a question.
All right.
But I couldn't remember what the question was.
So the other way around.
Yes. Wow. And so now,
What was the answer, though?
oh, you want the answer?
Yeah, I've been, I was one of those guys in school where you had the, all the answers in the back of the book.
Yeah.
And I was like, give me the answers.
Give me the answer right now.
I need that. And then I go back, and then once I know how to finish it, I know I'm right or I'm wrong. But that's the way I learn,
So question was like, afterwards, I think I ended up sort of reframing it into like, what happened before the Big Bang? What happened before the Big Bang?
Okay.
What happened before the Big Bang? Now this was sort of like, because
So not a small question.
It's a Big Bang question. It seems to be a question that's haunted humanity for quite a while, ever since we ended up with that as an explanation. But so it was, like, prior to my spiritual awakening, the Big Bang was my safe space, right? Because when people started talking about God and everything, I was like, well, who created God? And I'm still baffled by the fact that, but before the Big Bang, you have no problems with that logic. But
maybe God did what Neo did in the Matrix and puked himself into existence.
Well, that makes complete sense to me, at least.
What if
Whoa.
he swallowed? What if he swallowed himself to existence?
That too.
That too also makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But so like what I was delving into was like the fabric of our existence. Why are we here?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the biggest of questions, really.
The mother of all questions.
Yeah.
Went to the mother of all questions. Now, if this is your first time
Mom.
thinking about doing ayahuasca, I suggest just you can start. No, if you feel up for it, go for it. But it was. I
think it's really hard to avoid your own question anyway.
Yeah, it is, right? When the question pops up.
Yeah, because she knows you. Like,
you can't hide. You can't like, you can't like just like move aside like to some easier questions. So it was like, so the loop became sort of like, well, what's the question? What was the answer? What's the question? What was the answer? And the loop just closed in on itself to a point where I'd lost myself, everything. I'd lost my mind. I'd lost everything. It was.
Is this ego death?
I would say the ego was very dead by that point. Yes, or not dead, but out of play. Like
right.
Out of the picture totally. So I was lying there. And I guess my ego was there enough to say, well, now you completely lost your mind, buddy.
Just clinging on.
And I was lying like this, and I was like, I was ignoring my ego.
Yeah.
I was like, breathe. This is okay. Whatever happens is okay. Now, in retrospect, the first night was my training. Mm-hmm. And the second night was the actual battle.
All right.
Because I needed to know that there was nothing to be afraid of before I ventured into the dark voids of my existence, which is nothing to be afraid of.
No.
But it seems hella dangerous.
Yeah, it does.
Because going insane, or is reality even real? Mm-hmm. All these questions that we're so afraid of.
And that's also a big one.
It's a big one.
To get trapped in your own mind. Like, am I ever going to get out of this?
And so at one point I was like, so if reality isn't real and I'm not real, where's my starting point? So I was stuck in this very interesting loop, but at the same time I felt like something was like an anchor.
Yeah.
Like something was, there was like the breath, and like just the whole, like there was something safe, like deep within my being, just keeping me safe, even though it felt like I'd lost everything. All my marbles were out on the floor, and there was no floor, so it was quite disturbing. And
because Mother Ayahuasca, she's like a jungle guide. She's always there, like even when you're in the thick of it and there's like leaves and trees everywhere and you can't even see like an inch in front of your face. She's always there.
Yeah.
And you can kind of feel that. It's like a tether back to reality. And that's.
But so at the very pinnacle of it all, I was just lying there and I was mush, and I was like, and I was like, I know this, like, the loop was like a guy vomiting and a couple of notes on the harmonica, and that just looped, and I saw a person just walking like one step, like in front of me.
Was there an echo as well? Like an echo to the loop?
Oh,
like,
yeah. The perfect echo. And it was just, well, you're good. Don't worry. It's fine.
Yeah.
And then it all stopped.
He needed that.
And it became completely quiet. And I sat up in the room the room was it was technically vibrant, I have to say, and very bright, even though it was in the middle of the night and very little natural lighting. And I was like, well, it seems I need to go to the bathroom. So I was like,
now, how far are we along here? Like time, is it even fathomable?
No idea. But we're closing into our point of meeting, our meeting point.
Right.
But so at that point, it just feels like I'd had like a bad dream, like or not like a very intense dream.
Yeah.
But the room is very strange because no one's vomiting. Everyone's just sitting there. It's like it's a freeze frame.
Moment of silence.
But people are like going about their business, but it's completely silent, and I have to really focus to control, like to walk.
Yeah.
So it feels like I've re-entered my body, and I'm walking to the bathroom, and I'm peeing, and I look into the mirror, and in the bathroom it just feels like it's a normal Friday. It's nothing special at all.
Nothing out of the ordinary.
Nothing out of the ordinary.
No.
And so I come out of the bathroom. So the bathrooms are in the far end of the chapel.
Exactly opposite. Like exactly.
So
opposite
when
to
you
me.
come out of the bathrooms, you'll be looking straight towards the altar, and all the other participants of the ceremony is either lying on their mattresses or sitting on their mattresses, and I'm standing there, and Taita is looking right at me.
Yeah, but he's like, he can feel you, man. Oh yeah. He's so into everyone who's there,
and he's smiling, and then I realize this is my moment. What just happened was real.
All right, I know where this is going.
And so I'm like, I feel exactly like the moment, you know, when in a film when the hot girl waves at the train station and the guy thinks it can't be me, so he's looking over his shoulder. But it's nobody else. It is me. And so I was like, me? This guy? And I'm walking forward, and while I'm walking forward, I'm like, oh shit! I found the answer. And I was like, but I didn't think I would ever get there. Like I was like in a sort of shock. So I go up there and I like, and we like speak a little, and I thank him, and he's smiling and laughing, of course, and like more or less like your rebirth is completed, and
there's some exchange of energy going on right now, because I'm real intuitive though, but there's like my heart is almost like rooting you on. It's like beating to your story here.
But so, and the feeling is that of like coming to the end of a video game,
right?
Like you've at the end of I don't know, like Doom, or like you know, like an adventure game, where like you have to do all these insane, impossible obstacles.
Huge boss fight.
And when you get to the end, you're like, yeah. And so I become somewhat euphorious, because I'm like, shit, I fucking cracked that motherfucker open. I battled, and I won against myself, against my doubts, and all
the names on the leaderboard is just you, no one else, right? It's just me against me, and I beat me. Like the high score is even better now
on the board, and it was a moment of perfect synchronicity, because the entire universe and everything in it had aligned to that particular point in time for me to experience that. And that was such a, what do you say? It was like, that can't be true. But it was.
Surreal.
And it's surreal because all of a sudden you're the main character, and you're not only the main character, you're like the guy.
The protagonist.
Yeah.
The guy.
And so I'm walking back, and I don't really know quite like what to do. So I tip over
I remember that.
I
don't think you know
on
this.
The ground.
I don't think you know this. I have to tell you this because I was neck deep in my own kind of thing right there. But that particular moment right there was really profound to me because you were part of showing me that time was an illusion right then and there. Oh, yeah. I remember this, and everyone reacted to the fact that you toppled this candle.
Yeah, the candle.
Like everyone.
The candle, yeah.
And that to me that was the point of Mother Ayahuasca showing me that this is a dance. Just watch.
Oh yeah.
They're all dancing, and I was like, yes, they are. They actually are. They're
they
dancing.
They actually are, yeah.
And in this fumbling of toppling like a candle, and everyone's like, oh no, what if the mattress catches fire? And then you all started dancing. I remember this clearly. But go on. I needed to.
I just have a question,
yeah,
because I think it's really interesting to hear your version before you tell too much about yours.
This is exactly what I was going to say.
We're almost
at the
here.
point where we're overlapping. So now it's Kristian's story.
Okay. Like you said, though, it takes a while before it kicks in, right?
Yeah.
And I think I was talking earlier about the shakes I got from being asked that first time from that guy, from a friend of mine going to Bergen, and after the rapé, I was shaking violently. I was shaking. I had that sensation, and after the first cup, when I went to lay down, that shaking sensation was back. Oh. And it's an old friend of mine. I remember this is quite embarrassing, really, but I need to tell this. It was this girl, back in 5th grade.
Oh, wait.
And she was like, I don't think I'm allowed to say retarded, but she was not quite normal. Let's just put it at that. All right. And then we were in the woods, and she took off her clothes, and I'd fantasize about seeing someone else than my mom and my sister naked for a long time, But then it happened. And the same shaking sensation. So it kind of brought me back. I was like, oh, man, this is an old friend of mine. I'm shaking like I did that time in the woods with the girl naked. And I'm like, I remember this. And I was like, what is this? My body is taking control over me in a weird way. I don't want to feel this. But at the same time, I was like, I need this. This is, and I think at the time, it was like, oh man, this is so much. This is the excess of energy that I've never, ever gotten rid of.
Yeah.
I've never tossed it aside. I've kept all this crap. I don't need this. So my body was like, okay, we're warming up here. We're just releasing excess energy. And then it took a while, though, before this started to kick in. You said an hour. I'm thinking more like 2 hours.
Yeah, but I think it's very,
It
can vary quite a bit. The first night, I'm not sure, but I'd say half an hour. Because it was when I went to the bathroom, I was like, I still have lots of time. But then the room was melting and all that. I was like, no, it seems it's happening. It's happening.
Yeah. I also remember one time for me, the second time, which was a very completion of the first time, but it was 2 months in between.
Right.
It was starting actually before I was drinking it almost,
Yeah.
But when I had the drink, at this center, they were doing some kind of chakra opening meditation or something. And it's just, I followed 2 chakras and I was deep in it. So,
man, that reminds me. Keep me on track here, guys. But that reminds me. The day before I came, we talked about snakes.
Yeah.
And I said synchronicity. Listen to this. The day before I got here, or there.
Yeah.
I was laying in bed. And I swear, this has never happened to me before. It's kind of a hallucinogenic feeling whilst you're awake, or you're half asleep, but then you're half awake. And then it's almost like you're projecting whatever you're dreaming onto this reality. Have you ever
I know what you're talking about. The half awake, half dream state where you're sort of falling asleep and reality and dream sort of mixes into each other.
Yeah, it's like the in-between, right? And then
yeah.
You get this weird feeling because you're so goddamn confused. You don't know if you're asleep or awake.
Yeah.
And you're not aware of what the hell you're seeing. Well, you are aware, but you don't know.
Yeah.
Is it real? Is it not? And then the night before I came, it was in the middle of the night. But I remember there was a light on. But I think it was in the middle of the night. Anyway, the light was on. So maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was right before I fell asleep. But I was so freaking confused. I mean, just recalling this, I remember how confused I was. But I saw this, and it wasn't even a whole snake. It was literally like a part of it.
Yeah, the coiling bit. Right?
Yeah, if you picture like an anaconda, and you have like, I don't know, 30 centimeters of it, maybe 40, 50 at best, you know? And it was like presenting itself on the roof, like in motion. Oh. And I remember this clearly because it was an albino snake.
Oh.
A white snake.
Yes.
White snake, yeah. No, but, you know? And then it had these diamond patterns. Like on the deck of cards, diamond.
Yeah.
All throughout. Like in a certain, on like diamonds in a row, followed by other diamonds, like above it and next to it. Like a pattern, chess pattern.
Yeah.
Of diamonds.
Yeah.
And then albino skin in between. And the color of the color was this sort of translucent, shiny, purple greenish. Have you seen ducks, like male ducks? I think it is male ducks. They have this sort of color on the neck, on the feather, where it's like gradiating from green to purple. That's exactly the one. And I was like, what did I just see? And then, like, Aina, my soulmate, was like, I think that's ayahuasca.
Yeah, that's ayahuasca.
She's like talking to you or presenting herself. I was like, oh, yeah. So you know, that was big. Yeah. And that was the day before.
Yeah.
Wow.
My snake day. And also, I have to say, I was a caller. I was a caller.
You were a caller.
On the first night. Purple, of course.
Man, that kind of freaks me out because, you know, my color is purple.
That's a good
like, that's my color. Like, I wouldn't go around toting, oh, my favorite color is purple. But, you know, deep down, it's purple. So the purple has a huge, that's a huge, like, synchronicity right here and now. But anyway, moving on to the big thing.
Okay, so the shaking.
And I had to wait forever. I had to wait like
2 hours.
Yeah, because I was one of those guys. I remember, like I was like, oh yeah, it's gonna hit, and you know, I'd never experienced anything like this before. And I remember the guy next to me. He was all like zen and calm, this, you know, cool, chill dude, and he's like, so Kristian, was it? Have you ever like tried anything psychedelic before? And I was like, hi man, no, not really. No, this is my first, you know, my first deep dive into the psychedelic realms. And he was like, whoa man, right on the jackhammer. And I was like, he's freaking right, man. So I did not know what to expect, honestly. I've never even done anything besides like smoked a joint when I was a teen, like with bad friends, I guess, you know. That's what I've done. That's the extent of my rebellion, so to speak. So I did not know what to expect, but it took forever. I remember that because I was looking down, you know, on the rows of people.
Yes.
On my row and on your row. And we must have been like, what, 30?
Yeah, we were a lot more people on the second day. Mm-hmm. So we were more like 30, yeah.
More like 30, okay. So give or take, 30 people. And they were neck deep in this. I remember the guy next to the shaman on the left side, doesn't even matter, but on one of the sides. He was like, he had been screaming for like half an hour, 40 minutes at this point.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man. But then again, was he the first who took the brew?
Yeah, he was the first who took the brew, yeah.
Because I was fairly late. But I remember when I got up to do the second cup, I was like, there's nothing happening, man. But I was humble because I knew. I knew it was coming. So I wasn't like, oh, this is not going to work. Oh, man. No. I knew it was going to work. I just needed to be patient.
Yeah.
And humble.
Yeah.
Because humility, man.
Oh.
I'm gonna skip ahead a little here, but today, humility is my greatest teacher. Like at this moment, just putting it out there. But back to my second cup, I was, I was being guided up in the chair because Miriam, one of the assistants,
Yes.
She came down and she said the Taita wanted me to go up and have another cup. So I thought, okay, it's time. I'm ready.
Oh, so that's how you get another. I had never had the second cup, so I was like, how do you know when you get the second cup?
Dude.
Taita knows, of course.
Dude, wait until the third.
There's a third cup?
Oh, man. Okay. and it's all about the threes here. And I'm going to do my best to explain how.
Yeah.
But like the number 3. Okay, we can begin by saying that I'm born 3 months prematurely. 3 months. That's
early birth.
my first. Yeah, and I shouldn't even be here, dude. I shouldn't even.
No,
be
that's like yeah.
Scientifically, statistically speaking, I should be a veggie.
Yeah.
And my sister along with me,
Yes,
my
because you have a twin sister, right?
Yeah,
and she was
I do.
obviously also born.
And that's also a
3 months
big
early.
one. But anyway, the threes, man. They always come in threes. And I was in the chair. And I had to wait a little while, I remember. But then I got the second cup. And I was like, yeah, I know I have to do this. Down with the second cup. And at this point, I remember just being really, I'm ready now. Let's just go. Everyone else is in, man. Just I'm ready, coach. Put me on, and then I got back to my mattress, and I think it took I had to wait a good half hour before it really just kicked in. And bear in mind, this is my first ever psychedelic experience, and I remember I was really good and deep down in my mattress. And I was leaning against the wall. And all of a sudden, there's this cheerful vibe in the room. Everything is whew.
Oh, yeah.
It's so much lighter. Like the load you're carrying as a human being in this society, in this everyday, ordeal that we're going through here, is not just divided. It's gone. Like you don't have that weight. That was the first thing I felt. And then I saw all the faces on the wall, on the the woodworks of the walls.
Yeah.
And they were smiling at me, and I was like, "Are those really faces?" But I didn't. It doesn't even matter. They were dancing, structurally, they were dancing. And then I saw up at the light, and I was laughing hysterically, and it was joyous. The laugh was all joy, because I had never ever seen the light. It dawned on me, man, I've never seen the light. It was as if someone gave you magic glasses. Dude, you think you know what seeing is?
Check this out.
Check this out, man. And I remember very distinctly, I saw, and I'm huge into sacred geometry and the platonic solids and all that. And I was like, damn, the platonic solids have platonic solids. You can't even, and I remember, for some reason, I'm in love with the honeycomb pattern.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the utility. I just know that this is a good structure. This is a great pattern. And I remember seeing, there's a rainbow sort of thing emitting from the light. And I could see inside of that rainbow were honeycomb patterns and so much else. Yeah. And I was like, that's how light looks like. Oh. That's what light really looks like. Thank you for showing that to me. And then once I started to explore the other world around me, I could see into my hands. And now, I've always had this thing with my hands. There's something emanating from them. But at this point, man, and I've been so into blue and purple nebulas for some reason. Do you guys know the clouds of space, the nebulas? They're really pretty, if you go on Google and search nebulas. That's my image of home for some reason. And I'll tie this up in just a second. But when I looked at my hands, man, that nebula or the nebula colors were inside my hands. I was like, dude. And then I could feel my whole being shifted into this next level, literally next, what do you call that? Density?
Yeah.
And I was like, whoop. 2 or 3 densities up from where I was. So say we're in 3rd density here on Earth, living our lives as human beings, Homo sapiens. I was like, whoop, right up to like 5th or 6th density. And I remember my experience was so intertwined with like my sister's experience. And we were like almost at a point like in telepathy.
Wow.
But then again, his sister was there as well?
Yeah, and she was lying like, I think Aina was lying like in between us.
The twin sister?
My twin sister, she was there.
Yeah.
I was there with my soulmate, Aina, my twin sister, Iseline, and my mother-in-law. Let's just leave it at that. I mean, she's an all right woman, but she's got some issues in this life. She has an important role to play, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone does.
Yeah, everyone does.
But she's pushing my buttons, so to speak, like, but she's here for a reason, and she fulfills her role perfectly.
Yeah,
she does. She really does. But my experience, it was so connected to everyone else, and like you guys said, I had this feeling, well, man, we shouldn't really talk. I mean, I didn't give a shit. I talked and I tried to keep the volume down, It was just like friendly conversation between like people. But at a point, I remember someone being like, shh, be quiet. And then I thought like, who are you to come and tell me that my experience isn't interlinked? And then suddenly, only love. Oh, I understand. It's like, whoa, my ego just popped in for a second. And then someone just told that ego to go sit in the back. Just, no, there's no need for that. And then that density experience like ramped up. I was like, I was getting insights from, and it was a strange way of talking because when you were talking, you were almost like, you weren't talking, you were channeling. Like you didn't think about the words to pronounce or the words to say or how the sentence is built up. There was this energy coming from like down here in your diaphragm, and it just went up, and you just it was almost like being, only talking. I have no idea how to explain this better, but you were in the now, and I only got a glimpse of that, but I remembered distinctly telling myself, "Wow, this is what it's like to be an extraterrestrial. This is what it's like. This level, they're on this level, man. They just are. They're in the now, in the moment." And I was like, it's the best feeling because you don't have to worry. There's no need for that. Like all in that state, all the worrying and all the clutter of the mind is just, it's not anything compared to what you are. So you don't have to revert to that.
Yeah.
It's almost like a small pain, which you're like, no, doesn't matter. Oh, yeah, it's a sting, whatever, You don't have to listen to that. It's so quiet compared to the vastness of you or everything, because you are connected to everything. Make no mistake. I speak about me all the time, but I was everything. Like I was the wall. And I was everything else. I could see that everything I had been searching for when I say that, I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not wise enough. I'm not educated enough. All those things. I was all those things. It was inside of me. Like Rumi says, the universe is inside of you. And that was it. I could feel that. And after this, I remember this vibrating sensation in my hands. It was almost like a guy was standing there with one of those, what do you call them? Like the boring machines where you bore into the asphalt.
Like a jackhammer?
Yeah, the jackhammer.
Oh.
I had jackhammer for hands. I was like, oh, damn. Like they were shaking so violently, almost like they were being upgraded. I don't know. I distinctly remember that. And this is what I like to refer to as the God realization phase, because I was God, I was the universe, I was everything. And to me, the universe is a nickname for God.
Yeah.
Or I call it, I often refer to it as like the creator, but we're all it.
Yeah.
So why personify it? And I think it's almost like calling a guy whose name is William from Bob. It's the universe, man. It's just Bob, you know? It's the Bobbyverse universe. It's Bob for William,
I guess
for God.
Is it like the game we're playing gets more fun if we say that the God is something else than us?
Yeah.
So it ups the ante a bit, because you sort of have to, well, if I'm not it, then what's my place in all of this? And you feel like very uncomfortable because there's something just doesn't seem right, because this God thing over there has calls all the shots, while you're just some poor victim over here. And now what happens, like, typically, and I remember someone said, like, talking about ayahuasca before I even tried it, was like, well, you get to meet God, basically.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, you get to meet God, you get to meet yourself, and you get to see your infinite potential, and you get to see your connection with everything else, and you get to laugh at the idea that all of these things were separate, but yeah, do go on.
Exactly, and that's the thing. You get to laugh at the things.
Yeah,
you get to laugh at the fact that, wow, did I think that this was separate? Because now it's all me, you know, and it's not just me; it's we. But you're one. We're all one. And this, you know, this might be cliche, but in this world of duality, in this dualistic experience, being non-duality, being in it, being the thing, which everybody talks about, is amazing. I mean, my soulmate, she's really into non-duality, and I, you know, even though I consider myself, you know, quite spiritual and awake and all that, sometimes when I read these really hardcore non-duality stuff, like quotes and stuff on Instagram, I'm like, yeah, I hear you, but, you know, isn't that a little cheesy? But damn, I mean, I take that back, man, because you have to be it to get it, because we're so dual. Yeah. In this dimension, we're so into this role play of our roles, like you said before, with the guy who was screaming at you. Like, whenever we walk into a room, I feel like sometimes if I'm allowing myself to be, I take on that role, and sometimes I'm a dick, and I'm like, damn, dude, you're a dick, but you're supposed to be that dick today. You have that role, and it's just allowing yourself to be. Yeah. And there I was, being everything, right? So the next thing, I guess, you know, would be I was told to lay down for a second. I had some things to I mean, of course, there has to be vomit, right? And I feared, you know, I thought about vomiting a couple of times, you know, and the thought struck me that, you know, you might have to vomit once or twice, 3 times.
3 times.
Yeah, and it's all about the 3s. But this was the first one. And like I said, I had this huge telepathic connection to my sister. And I think at one point, I leaned up to her and I said, I think the 2 of us, we share a kind of sorrow. I'm not sure, but it's a sorrow of some kind, I said to her. And then went back in the God realization. I almost went out of it for a second just to be able to tell her, and then went back in. But she was like, I know. And we were in the experience together, and I got to feel that sadness. There was a sadness in me. And it was like, are you ready to let this go? Mother Ayahuasca, she told me that. And I was like, oh yeah. And I could feel it, like we were talking about earlier. It's not just puking. And Jesus. I remember the motion. It was like I was all the way back at my pillow. My head was resting against the pillow. And my body just shot forward like an arch. And I was steered like a half circle arch into the bucket head first in a plunge, like whoop.
Bucket plunge.
And I was like, whoa! And it was black, like all black and all water. And I was like, damn, that's some sorrow right there. And I didn't dwell on it, but I was like, there's some sorrow up in there who wants to go out. And then, really quickly after this, I was guided up towards the altar. And this is where some profound shit took place, you know? Jesus. Okay. So here's where this leads to you.
Yeah.
Because it all starts right here. Because I've been wanting for so long, ever since I was 40 years old, as a matter of fact, to go back to something. Which I didn't know what was. I didn't know what it was. I only knew that I wasn't from here. And that's a weird sensation, you know, seeing as how I was born 3 months premature. Now, I was bombarded, I kid you not, with evidence of my own birth because it was so goddamn traumatic. And I wasn't alone in that birth. I had a sister along with me. So it was an intense experience, and I was in this machine to keep me alive, and I had tubes like everywhere in probably holes that I didn't have, you know. And I was poked with needles, and I was a lab experiment for sure. And I weighed under 1 kilo. I think I weighed 880 grams. Maybe I'm even exaggerating this a little, but under 900 grams. That was my birth weight.
Yeah.
I think my sister was 910 because the females, they usually, if it's twins and the one is female and one is male, the female always comes out on top. It's just law of nature, I guess. We're almost like amphibians in that sense. Like the female always is bigger. But so she was bigger than me. But I've been presented with so much evidence, like videotapes and photographs and Polaroids and so much in my face. I even had this like binder with like, oh, here's Kristian at like 900, and they followed my every gram from that point on, you know. And I said to myself, like, why are you questioning this? You're obviously born here. You're obviously your mother's son and your dad's son, right? You have a mom, you have a dad. They're there. They're in every photo, you know. But there was this sensation that no, I am not from here. And I was battling with myself. And I felt really bad for asking myself that question. And I remember we had this plateau in our backyard, this really high plateau with grass on top that I used to, you know, when I couldn't sleep, I used to go out there and climb that plateau and lay down on my back and just watch the stars. And I remember this particular feeling coming over me, like, why won't you come and pick me up? Why won't you guys come back? Why am I stranded here? So I guess, in a sense, if you were to put a term on it, I would, I stumbled across the term starseed when I was, you know, waking up, when I was opening up to, you know, alternative literature and spiritual books and that sort of thing. And that really stuck with me, like starseed, because there's something from cosmos that is planted inside of me. And it's always been there, but it didn't wake up until 2010, 2013. But I always knew that I was not from here. And I had this feeling, I had this strong urge or pull towards Sirius at one point. I remember I was so into like Sirius, in particular, Sirius B, the brightest star on the night sky. And I didn't know why. I knew the name Sirius. I had to look up the word Sirius, and I was fixated on that. But I was none the wiser after that. I just knew that I had a connection to Sirius. And if you look up literature on starseeds, that's like a big thing. It's either Sirius, the Pleiades, Arcturus, I think it is, and Orion. Those are really common. And I had an affinity for Sirius, like bad. And this was in the beginning. But I wanted to know where I was from, you know, my starseed origins, so to speak. Where am I, like, what starseed am I? And I ever since I woke up, I wanted to know this so bad. But I didn't. I did not get to know. And when the ayahuasca guided me up to this altar, there were 3 lights. Power of 3, people, power of 3. 3 lights on there. And when I looked at them, this, like, I don't think ayahuasca spoke to me at this point, but I remember I looked at them and someone in my head, I think it was me, said, wow, that is familiar. And I don't know if you guys ever seen, you've probably seen it, the belt of Orion, the Orion's belt, the 3 dots next to each other.
Yeah.
That was funny enough. Every time I found myself looking up at the sky, I always looked at that. And I remember I had I had a liking to the number 3 ever since I was little. That was my number. I remember, we were playing like agents, you're secret agent. And I'm like, I'm secret agent number 3. That is me. I have the number 3. I need it. So I really loved the number 3. And then I could clearly hear ayahuasca like, it's all in the 3s. It's always 3, she said. And I was like, what? And then I looked at the lights. Now, the altar is like a table. It's like a teacher's desk, really. It's a standard table, really cheap table. And the candles, they were one at each leg of the table, on each end, and one in the middle. And when I looked at this, I was like, damn, that's the belt of Orion. And once I thought about the belt of Orion, I just whoosh, went out of my existence somehow, out of my, being, and into this sort of movie. Almost like if someone had put a VR headset on my head. And I was like, whoa, okay. And there's this nebula again. This purple and blue nebula that was inside my hands and that I, love so much. And ayahuasca clearly said that you want to know where you're really from? This is the place. And she took me like into the nebula somehow. And out of that nebula, I think I was inside the nebula actually, and she took me out of it. And she zoomed me as far out to where I could actually see the belt of Orion. And I was like, damn, I've always known. I have always known that Orion. But it never dawned on me. I was like, man, isn't Orion where, the reptilians are from? Hold that thought. Snakes, people. Snakes. Okay, so fast forwarding here, that particular realization was so important to me because now I knew, frick, I am a Orion starseed. And then she showed me how I looked like on that planet. I was like, damn. Okay, have you guys seen, I don't know if you guys played World of Warcraft or seen it. Have you seen the Naga?
I don't remember the name though.
Okay, they're kind of like sea serpents. They are they have huge behinds. Okay, picture a what's it called? The half horse, half man.
Centaur.
The centaur. Okay, picture a centaur, only with the horse part cut off, and instead of that horse part, it's the behind of a snake, like the rear end. It's a really fat snake. Make no mistake about it. Like it's huge, but it's a snake. It's a snake's tail, and it's sort of morphing into this humanoid-esque body. And we have no hair whatsoever, but we do have scales, and it looks like a sort of evolved version of a snake. And there was something telling me, like a sort of information I got from just, experiencing or seeing this being, that they have, I got the information that they have had evolved from sea serpents. They started out as sort of like mermaid serpents. And it all came back to me because I got flashes of this image I saw of a mermaid when I was like, 15. And I couldn't take my eyes off of that mermaid. And it was someone on DeviantArt had made like a mermaid. And I was like, what is it with this mermaid thing? I can't even. And then that picture flashed in front of me. And I was like, oh, okay, sort of like that. They had started out sort of like that. Okay, and here's the big part. With people talk about, it's a conspiracy theory for sure, but I'm all about that. And people talk about, the Illuminati being controlled by the Trejos and the reptilians. And I could see that my origin as okay, let's make a thing clear here. I have aspects of this being in my being. That is what I'm referring to when I say I'm an or Orion starseed. I have this connection to another part of me that's actually somewhere in or on or whatever you say on Orion, or has been. I'm not sure if it even exists, but it transcends time.
Well, time is still having a time out. So
and I saw,
cool.
I saw how, I don't know, there's this movie commercial. I think it's a Thai movie commercial. No, it's not a movie commercial. It's an ad. And it's on YouTube. You can search up, like, go on YouTube and search up Thai twins and type in gangster and then type in monk. And I bet you will find this advertisement. And basically what it is, it's two brothers and they grow up in Thailand. And they have the exact same upbringing up until a point, I think they're like, 10 or 9, where one of them goes off to become a spiritual Buddhist monk. And he's, he shaves off all of his hair and he's all dressed in the orange, Buddhist robe thing. The other brother, he decides to go into, he goes a little on a different path. He starts selling drugs. He gets lots of tattoos. And he gradually becomes this sort of gangster, thug, drug dealer, pimp. Now, what I realized was I was from Orion, the very same birthplace as the so-called Trejos, the so-called Illuminati reptilians. And I was like, damn, they are my freaking brothers. Now, if you have a big enough bird's eye view of this whole thing, they are all us, but I got this really brotherly sensation. And I was like, okay, I'm the Buddhist brother. That was my heritage. That is my starseed origin. I went the other way. And at this point, I got a feeling that there were more of us in the room. I didn't know who it was. But I knew that there was someone else in this room, out of all the 30 people in there, who were like me. Who were from, originally, Orion. Okay. And here, I think, is where our paths cross for the first time.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I went back into the couch and I went through, no, not couch, the mattress. And I went through my little personal hell. Because friend is an old friend. Fear is an old friend of mine. I mean, he's a really old eagle. The two of us go way back. Like I struggled with huge amounts of insane fears when I was growing up. I remember from the age of 6 to 18, I diagnosed myself as a paranoid schizophrenic. Like I'd been dealing with some shit, but it's all part of the plan, and I realized that. But I had a little, I had some leftovers in me. There was some residual fear I needed to get rid of, and to make a long story short, ayahuasca just told me to yell out. All about the yelling, right?
Oh, yeah.
All about the noise. Team noise over here.
I'd say praise the yelling, but still,
Yeah?
I recommend going into it, not yelling, but when you're yelling, that's okay.
But
That's powerful stuff.
I really think that once we put some energy into it, and yeah, one can say that, oh man, you don't have to be so loud because everyone's going through their shit. But believe you me, when they're going through their shit, our noise, our yelling is just white noise to them.
Yeah.
Or it can be hella terrifying. Anyway, I had to yell, I am in control. Like I had to yell that out loud. And I had to physically and mentally, spiritually, everyly take over my body. Like I had to be in control of my body. Yeah. Now, once that was done, Miriam walks all the way from the altar down, all the 30 meters or so down, 30, 10, 20, I don't know, time, measurements, whatever. She walks down and she says, I have a gift for you. Or Taita, the shaman, has a gift for you. Let me show you. And then I do not know what to expect at this point. I do not know what to expect. And the ayahuasca, this was right after where you said you tumble the light over. Because
Yes.
ayahuasca had shown me that, there's no time. You want to see time? And it also showed me that life is a dance. Life's a dance, folks. And funny enough, I remember hearing this song, are we human or are we dancers? Right before this. And it all made so perfect sense. And I was like, yeah, man, this song right here, I think it's The Killers.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's something about the lyrics in this song. And that was a week before this. So I really remember that. So ayahuasca told me that life is just a dance. And when you tumbled over that light, ayahuasca just rewinded the time. It was like, dude, watch. Time is an illusion. Just go with it. Go with the flow. Be in the river. Dive into the river. Don't try to swim. See where you end up. Trust us. We have a plan, right? And it's right after this. She comes down. I have a gift for you. Or Taita, he has a gift for you. I go back up. I see you fumbling up there with your 193 centimeters.
Yes.
You are fumbling up there as long as you are.
Doing my dance.
Doing your dance. You were dancing.
My candle dance.
He got it, folks. He was dancing.
Oh, I was dancing.
And
Because I was in a euphoric state of mind.
Yeah.
Because I just completed a very difficult game of life
yep.
called Doubt.
Yeah.
But yeah, continue.
And here's where the two of us recognize each other because that's what we did. Now, I didn't... There were people standing in line because Taita, he was all up in everybody. So he apparently had something going on like simultaneously with two other people.
Yeah, he's a multitasker.
He's a multitasker, this guy.
Yeah.
So I was like waiting for my turn, but I remember you up dancing your little dance, and I was like, man, he's out of it. I thought, I thought he's enjoying himself, but he's way out of it. And then I sat down, and then I can't remember the exact sequence of events here, but I remember like a moth to a flame, or like the opposite pole of a magnet. I was like, whoop, stuck to you. And I think it was ayahuasca that said, you are not alone. Here's your brother from the stars. And I was like, what? And then like a tractor beam, our two heads, even though you are what, like 20 centimeters higher than me, maybe more.
A bit higher than me, yeah.
I'm 178. You're 193. Do the math. Someone do the math real quick. Whatever. Measurements, But you're a fair bit taller than me, right?
Yeah.
But at that point, our two heads, there's like this tractor beam out of freaking Star Wars that like hooked our two heads to each other. And at this point, I remember becoming a one with you.
Oh, we were one.
We were one. And the strange thing was, we were not just one. We were mimicking the movements. I remember at this point, I was like doing something with my head to check, and you were doing the same exact motion at the same exact time as me. And I was like, damn, we are one.
Oh, we are one.
Like if I ever...
Indeed.
Yeah, so and I remember we did this like Eskimo kiss greeting with like our foreheads
Yeah.
meeting and our noses meeting. Isn't that an Eskimo kiss? Isn't that what you call it?
I don't know.
Well, now it is at least.
It's like a warrior's greeting
yeah,
sort
it's
of thing.
a warrior's greeting. Yeah.
And I could see inside your head. Literally, your head was translucent. I could see right through. And I saw that same nebula in your brain, and almost as if that was the confirmation I needed to be like, okay, you're one of the guys, you're one of the crew. And we had to sit down after this, I think. And I remember uttering like, you said to me, "There you are," and I was like, "Yes, there you are," and I was like, "Who is this guy again?" And it dawned on me, okay, he's me, I'm him, he's my brother, something told me. And I'm like, damn. And I've always had this feeling of that there's someone brotherly out there. That there's a person out there that has a brotherly relation to me, but where the hell is he? Where was he, you know? I'm 26 now. Where was he for the past 26 years? It never occurred to me that you might be right here. I thought you were way out there in the cosmos. I thought you weren't human. So you can imagine meeting this guy in the flesh, literally in the flesh, for the first time. I was like, okay, you're here. And it had to sink. I think it had to integrate. So we sat down at the altar and we were both like gobsmacked, dumbfounded. We were like,
yeah, we had to sit down.
Yeah, and we were like,
and we hugged, and we was just like overwhelmed because, and you know, I told you
each other
prior in the story. Well, first of all, when I was lost in the ocean of my own questions, that there was an anchor. Now, the moment I saw you, I knew that you were that anchor.
Oh man, that's...
And also, I had flashes of all the times in my life when I was lost in the sea of despair, where there was something keeping me afloat. Now, you were that thing, and that sort of just became so profound and so like the love, and also, you know, like the whole. Okay, so here's this person who's been there for me all my life, all my lives, and I get to meet him at the exact point where I've actually stopped doubting myself. That exactly in the moment when I truly believed that I wanted to be here, that this is what I always wanted. My brother comes forth and we hug like warriors, because this has, believe it or not, been a sort of a war with ourselves. Nonetheless, but still.
Man, I remember too. It just came back to me now. When our foreheads, when they touched, I remember getting this sensation of this like wormhole. This like, whoa, okay, this is trippy. We're going somewhere. And I think we went from Orion at that time, some time ago. And we ended up here. And it was this feeling of like, holy hell, we made it, dude. Like after this like triathlon, what do you call that? Ironman sort of thing where you're like, man, I can see the finish line now. Yeah. It's been a battle, like an uphill climb. We've like, fuck Mount Everest, dude. We're here. Like it was so surreal. And man, that was profound. And I saw the journey. And when I say our journey, I say our consciousness. What we really are, the little spark of the one infinite creator that, you know, broke apart. The singularity that broke apart to feel what it's like to be and to learn and to evolve and just here we are. And you reminded me of something. I say the number 3. There are always 3. That's what I got. There are always 3. So I kept thinking, where's the third one? And I kept asking you. I don't know if you remember.
No, I remember whether I had a brother or family member.
Because I was like pointing at everyone around us because I could. But that's another thing in its own. But he was telling me this, that you felt a connection to like everyone around you.
At that point, it was absolutely crystal clear. That all the people in the room were called my tribe, whom since before time had set upon a quest to actually get to this point in time where we would actually leave doubt and reclaim our godliness, so to speak. And all of them were people in my life from childhood, from adulthood, from previous lives, family members, historical figures, whatever. everything was a perfect synchronicity where all the little just wedges and nudges of my life had sort of tilted me to this point where I could say from the depths of my being that this is not a coincidence. This is something I chose. This is more or less, this is my creation, speaking as consciousness itself. And the vessel Ulf finally
Caught up to it.
doubt, caught up to it, and can actually sustain being both human and soul at the same time. And so I was. I remember we got up and I said we need to do like a power hug, and now that's the hug where whom on this particular Friday, I would say approximately like around probably like 3 a.m. or something. Well, it's a Saturday by then, I guess. You would have felt a small lift in your soul, because that hug was like an atomic explosion of transcendent love to the friggin' universe, because we fucking did it, man.
Yeah, man, that's a profound. Profound shit.
Yeah, and then you said you had to lie down for a bit.
Yeah. And then I went through another little hellish experience, but it was all to integrate everything. Yeah. And I remember I felt that, that power that you had emanating off of everyone around you. Like, you had a connection to them, and I felt that you realized that. So I was like, is he your brother? That guy over there, he has to be your brother, right? He's your brother. I was like, I'm pointing out everyone right now. And I do know that in a, non-dualistic way, everyone is, related, and we're all one.
But obviously one of them was, I'd say, like harboring the soul of my brother, or the path, or the, I don't know how to, like say like you incarnate through all these lives, and you're helping out each other, well, without even knowing it. These other souls on this, I call it, fantastic journey through life. But like it would have never occurred to me how profoundly beautiful it is to realize that we're all on the fucking same team, and that we're all working for each other. Now, like, imagine your worst enemy, right? He's just throwing shit in your face and being a real dick all the time. But he's helping you. And to get sort of that, like, every stone you turn, there's just love. Like, but this guy, he like Hitler, he was a real bad one. I was like, no. And afterwards,
it's distorted love, right?
I had this celebration where I celebrated with my soul team, or my tribe, or my crew, and we rejoiced, and all of the other people at the ceremony were part of it, because they were, well, their consciousness was connecting at that level. And so I decided to have like a ceremony with my eyes closed, because it was going to be a surprise. So I do this insane routine with my eyes closed, while everyone else is afraid that I will hurt myself, because I'm just wandering about, and
I come in at some point, but we're getting to that, because I was part of that.
Yeah. Everyone was part of that, right?
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful, but at the same, it was a lot of sadness, because I had to sort of, I had to actually feel like my lineage and what we've been sacrificing to get to here.
All right.
Like, just what the whole of humanity has to sacrifice for all of us to actually grow.
Yeah.
We have to do or we've done horrible things.
That's some collective trauma right there.
But the point of it all, that's not bad.
Yeah.
It just looks bad from the outside.
It's necessary to grow, right?
But like if you're playing Super Mario, and there is no hole to fall into, and there are no plants that can eat you, and there are no Goombas who can throw whatever they throw. There is no Bowser.
No Bowser.
Well, that's a game you want to play, right? And currently, like in this reality, we're playing at a level that's so freakishly fucking hard that doubting yourself becomes very natural.
I mean, legendary in Halo, no, it doesn't even compare. Insane in Gears of War can go fuck itself, you know? It's not even funny. And Dark Souls doesn't even have anything to this.
And the poetry and it was so we made a play. So this is a Ayahuasca/reality play where we played out world history and all the odd things that had to happen for us to come to here and now, and how many attempts we had to have a go, like how many times you had to try again and again, like
respawn.
Yeah, respawn. And it, like, you know, all the myths and all literature and all films and all everything was just baked into this whole existence, and it was there as our aid. Like everything is helping you all the time.
Yeah.
And what's holding you back is effectively your doubts.
It's like a feedback loop where everything is really love, but it's so distorted at times. Yes. But it's there to teach you. It's there to guide you, right?
And you also know if you keep repeating, I don't deserve love, love is going to smack you in the face. because love is coming whether you want it or not. But love will take the shape of whatever you, sort of want. Like the law of attraction is like you... Well, I don't deserve this. So love says, I don't want to deserve this. Okay, we'll take it away. and it was, but it was, you know, at the same time, you know, like the mass murderers, the wars, all of this stuff.
Really horrific shit.
Yeah, and you're just so humbled by what we had to do. Like the carnage of it all. But at the same time, it's all love, and you just become like, damn.
Yeah.
And so I had the party was ended in me doing a impossible. It was dancing and all of that, of course, as well. Doing an impossible move to actually dive into the singularity again, back to point zero, and at that point there was like this, choice. Do you want to just let this be an illusion, a dream, and go back to as if nothing had happened? Do you want to go back to the doubt place again? Because you can if you like. You're free to choose.
Yeah, free will.
Free will. And I was like, it was so tempting, right? Because at the same time as you just feel all this love is like, but the potential is infinite, and you become like, but what do I do with that? And then that was
Where
like,
do I go from here?
and then I was like, where do I go from here? And then I was like, slowly waking up from the ayahuasca, and the light was starting to come from outside, and I was like, oh no, it was all a dream, like that feeling, right? Like it was just a trip, like it meant nothing. And then I was like, but I had a brother, and it was, I made it. And then I stumble up, and I'm like looking around me, and people just seemed like to be minding their own business on their own journeys. And I walked towards the bathroom, and I looked to the right, and there's my brother. And I'm like in a Hollywood movie, you know, where they do something spectacular. Yeah. And then the next day it was like, oh, it was all a dream. But then like on the bedside, there is like the sword or like a remnant from the dream. And I'm like, oh, fuck, it is real.
Or the scar in a horror movie where you were like chewed on or sliced up by this monster, and it's real.
It's real. And then I just had to lie down next to you, and I was like, I'm home, baby.
Yeah.
Because we're here, this is exactly what we wanted, and damn, that feels good to be alive, and actually knowing that.
Yeah.
And well, I dare say the world has not been the same ever since, because a couple of times in the last month, I'd tried like, oh, poor little me, and then I'm like, dude, come on. With like we've seen that card trick like a million times. We know it's a sleight of hand. It's like not even close to plausible.
Yeah.
Like, please, sorry, bro. And the humility towards other people and their journey, and just like, wow. Because it's each of us have our own journeys, and we just have to trust that we're helping where it needs to be, and even when we're not helping, we're actually helping as well. And we need to stop being so hard on ourselves, because we're like, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, if only I were a better husband or a better friend or a better worker or whatever. But you're always your best, like always.
Yeah, you are.
Even when you're like fucking up like big time. Like even when you're shooting people, killing millions of them, that is still something good.
Yeah.
And I know that from one perspective sounds cynical and horrible, but trust me, this is transcending all of that. This is a different place. And so...
And it's all going to be all right in the end, right?
Yes. And I think my feeling right now is the end is now, because now is now, and we're always at the party, as Rob Bell would say. Yeah. Because, we want to get somewhere. Yeah. We're always there. It's just a matter of not doubting yourself and actually just accepting reality for what it is here to teach you right now. And you can just fucking do anything you like, because then the world is your oyster.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that the phrase?
Yeah, it is actually.
I'm not too fond of oysters. The world is your lemonade. I really like lemonade.
Yeah.
It's really, it's so beautiful to listen to your collective story of your experience. Right? Yeah, how it all connects together.
I want to emphasize something though. I know you said it, but the love here, it's. I used to think that, people saying follow the love or follow your heart or that sort of thing was a huge cliche, and I was like, ugh. But the love in this, I mean, you said it yourself. I met my brother, but it's not just a brother; it's something bigger than that.
Yeah.
Where you're like, you're a brother in the flesh, born out of a vagina, like blood relative. Nah. I met my
brother?
Yeah. I met my cosmic brother. We traveled the galaxy Milky Way light year charade, man. We went on the highway from here to infinity and back, and I found the guy. So screw your blood relative brother, man. I found mine.
I'd say like a blood relative brother is relatively easy to find, whereas your
oh look, there he is.
Takes like that was. Damn!
Yeah.
There you are.
But how has it been like after this? Has it been doused? So like the mind coming back, making ideas about it, or is it kind of
the mind always comes back, right?
Yeah.
Because you're in your body. Body has a mind, but it's the knowing.
Yeah.
That I think the first time I took ayahuasca, the knowing was sort of the same, right? You're it. You're everything. But then. Doubt was still strong. So when I came back, it became sort of like a, so this is horrible, but I know that when I die, it's all good. So it's okay. But still, it felt horrible. But now, I can't. It's impossible for me to even try to like sow the seed, plant the seed of doubt in myself, because my soul is in my body, and we're one, and that's not gonna change. So I was going to tie you into the story because what was quite profound. So I was going to do a 3-day.
Yeah.
But that Saturday, I felt that I'd done my 3 days.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't need to do a third one because I found everything I need right now. I'm positive I will do ayahuasca again.
Yeah.
For because
there's more.
There's
always more, right?
always more to be learned.
Yeah.
But at the same time now I need to integrate this and actually take this home to the village and share with my, like, I need to actually be this for realsies. But Rabbe was going to pick me up on Sunday so that we could talk about our the journey. So I called him and said, "Could you pick me up today?" And he was like, "Yeah." And
no problems.
And he came and picked me up, and some other people from the ceremony who were also going back on Saturday. And Rabbe asked like how their experience was, and then when they talked, like one of them said like she felt like it was like conducting a symphony, and it all synchronized so well into my experience. But then Rabbe talked about his experience, and I realized that his previous ayahuasca experiences were tied into my ayahuasca experience, and that when Rabbe had been vomiting all those years ago, he was also vomiting and like gulping up all that dark stuff and love in my journey, and it just all connected perfectly.
Oh wow!
Outside of time and outside of everything, and so at that point I was like, well, he was there with me, and obviously I had invited you because I had asked you to come along on my journey, but then it just all sort of like
connected
perfectly, and it's been surreal.
And speaking of connection, I just want to tie something up. I just want to connect a few dots here for the audience, because our experience, the part where I felt like there was a part where I chose to leave our collective on Orion. Yes. And you guys remember back when I said I said to my sister, we share sorrow.
Yes.
And I've always wondered about this. I've always wondered why did I choose to come into this life as a twin? I mean, it's a weird sort of experience in its own, right? Two human bodies being born at the same time.
Yeah.
Two embryos melting each other. The whole ordeal, right? And I got these amazing intuitive insights after, I said to you, I had to go lay down because there was something coming. And here again, it's all about the threes. I got the information that if you're from Orion, there's a part of you that's always linked to the number 3. And someone asked me one time, do you know your life path numerology number? And my answer was, well, it's either 3 or the double, like 3 times 3. No, 3 divided. Jesus, math. It's not my subject. 3 plus 3 equals 6. So it's either 3 or 6. He's like, yeah, it's 6. So I've always known that there's the power of 3, the number, it's really profound for me. And what I got was, she was my tutor. I was like, tutor? Well, it's a sort of soul that's always with you throughout all of your incarnations, all throughout the source. It's kind of a soul that's linked to you, like the experience you had where people keep appearing in your life.
Yeah.
And this is like, this goes beyond karma, because this is like, especially, I felt like for Orion, sort of, if you have a connection to Orion, there's something about the 3. And I instantly recognized that I have 2 tutors in this life. And one of them was my twin sister, and the other was Aina, my soulmate. Those were my tutors, and I'm the third, where 2 plus 1 equals 3, right? And then it came to me, because everything happens in 3s. I all of a sudden realized, or ayahuasca told me, or my intuition told me. At this point, I don't even know who's talking. It's just one big clusterfuck of knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm moving to Costa Rica on Monday, the 18th. And I'm going to visit a guy. I don't know the guy, but Aina does, or she doesn't know him. But he's contacted her before. Now, in my knowing, it came to me that he's the third. He's the third brother. And I was like, bro, this all hit me in the face. I'm like, really? I said it out loud. I was like, that's awesome. That is truly awesome. I mean, he's the third one. It's me, it's Ulf, and it's Don from Texas. He's a 65-year-old Texan from something, a town that starts with W. I can't even remember. Winchester or something from Texas.
I have to say something.
Yeah.
Randomly, I put on a t-shirt today. Can I show you my t-shirt?
Yeah.
You ready? So I put on my Texas t-shirt today, which is it's a map of America, and then Texas is 4 times as big, and then the rest of America says not Texas.
That's awesome, and he's a real Texan too.
Yeah.
I mean, they do say that Texans, they don't have accents, but this guy does. I mean, he has that Texan vibe going on. But he's a transcendent being, this guy. And a part of me really wants to know if he remembers, but at the same time, it doesn't even matter.
It doesn't matter
because he's one with everything. This guy, he's like the Zen master. So I can't wait for that. But anyway, back to the connecting the dots part. It's all 3, and you told me later on that your children are your tutors.
Yes.
Your 2 children. Now you
3.
are the father of 3.
Yes.
But 2 of them feel like your tutors.
Yes.
And that's profound in of itself, right? So, and what I got as well, going into this tutor thing, I don't know where the word tutor comes from. It's I can't think of a better word. It's kind of like a guidance counselor.
Yeah.
They're there to like guide you through all your shit and take it no matter what in different roles every time. And I've been their father, and they've probably been my mother at some point. And I got this intuitive movie in my head where it showed me that we were like DNA. Of course, the DNA was trippy as hell.
Yeah.
It was like this ayahuasca. If you guys,
trippy.
I don't know if you guys understand this, but if I say ayahuasca geometry, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the trippiness of it.
Oh, yeah.
The kind of spider leg kind of the nature-esque sort of, the Mayan geometry pattern kaleidoscope things that
fractals.
The fractals, right?
Fractals.
We were like fractal DNA, and I witnessed how throughout eternity we're just one and the same, like the 2 snakes in the DNA, the helix pattern, just intertwining. And speaking of anchor, I realized that she is my anchor in this world. Everything that comes out of me, either cosmic or otherwise, goes through her first. And we're almost like, I saw this too. I get to be really old, and the 2 of us, Iselin and I, we get to die at the exact same time.
Shit.
Only in different parts of the world, like on opposite poles. Almost. But we get to leave this incarnation at the exact second.
Wow.
At the exact same time. And that's really profound as well. So that's crazy. I mean, I had so many insights at that point. It was crazy. And I saw, what else did I see? I saw so much, man. I lost my train of thought there, but I saw so many things. I got to see that my sister was going to be a mom. And I'm like, are you aware you were going to be a mom? She's like, yes. And she was on the exact same wavelength as me. She could, and I saw my soulmate for what she really was. And I mean it. She is pure light. I mean, she's always felt different. And she's always been hardcore into non-duality. But I saw it like she's the most innocent creature there is. And there's a lot of Ainas out there. And they have such knowledge. And they're most often, they are the most introverted out of everyone in the freaking room. I mean, you can gather up 100,000, maybe 1 million people. They are the most introverted in the entire crowd. But they have the best knowledge in order to, enlighten us all. They are living embodiments of enlightenment, of awakening, of transcending. I saw that her goal in this life is to fulfill herself, is to transcend. Her goal is to die before she dies, so to speak. And that was amazing. And she said that that's the first time someone had seen her for what she really was or is. Oh, and by the way, I want to say this too. Speaking of was and is, ayahuasca at the very beginning, damn, this stuck to me like glue. This is so profound and it's so simple. I've never even thought about it this way, because we're talking about, what happens to us when we die? Where do we go? And all that, what forms do we change into? Because energy never dies, right? What will become of me? Ayahuasca told me one simple, profound truth. I'm going to pause a second for everyone listening to just soak this in. And do not think about this, guys. Feel it, please. It is impossible not to be. I'm going to repeat that. It is impossible not to be. That's what ayahuasca told me. And I'm like, yes, you cannot not exist. It's impossible. And it's that simple. And earlier we were talking about, that guy who was helping you out. He was like, you can do it this easy. It's this simple. You don't have to think about everything you can turn into and what you stop being and what everyone around you, where they go and all that. It is impossible not to be. That's all you need. Because no matter where you go, you will always be.
Yeah.
And everybody else around you, either physical, carbon-based, or whatever, will always be. They cannot stop to be or stop existing, whatever, It's so profound that I that stuck to me. Like if you guys had brought me on here today and said, you can only say one sentence out of your whole experience, you're only allowed to share one sentence, that's it.
Yeah. It reminds me of something I experienced on, I think the last time I did it was which was with Ulf 3 years ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There was this moment where I had a needle, like in my experience, and I was trying to pop myself, like
a balloon.
It was actually not, not a physical needle, but it was a needle.
Wow.
And I was trying to figure out, can I hit the point of the observer? Can I ever actually hit it? And it was impossible. Completely impossible. No matter how hard I tried to kind of point to myself, impossible. It was a really funny experience, but also very profound to realize, like, okay, no matter how far into myself I go, I cannot hit it. I cannot destroy it. I cannot pop it, or cannot be.
You can't be absolved. There's no ending to you, right?
Yeah.
Huh. No, I mean, it's profound. And once you realize this, once you realize that you cannot not be anything, you cannot stop to be, what is there to be afraid of?
Yeah.
Like, really? What can you be afraid of?
Well, you can be afraid of having to be something forever.
That's right. This never stops.
Yeah.
You're trapped.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing we live in duality with things. And what a treat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for
You're
sure.
welcome, guys. No problem.
Wow. But, okay, one question that I was thinking about when you explained it, that you were talking about your sister, twin sister.
Yeah.
Everything going through her first. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Can you elaborate? how you see that? Or
Was that back where...
you talked about her as a tutor?
Oh, yeah, the tutor. Yeah, the anchor point. That's exactly right. Well, as a matter of fact, she... Good you brought that up because there's much more to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I experienced was that... So after my my spiritual awakening, I've been... I like to put it that there's been a seed inside of me planted many eons ago in this little vessel right here that came out exactly how he was supposed to come out. And there's this cosmic link to whatever's out there and inside of us, because we are also cosmic, that has been activated at a certain point, right? So, and for me, that was in late 2000. I do believe it was in December of 2012. I'm not sure, but I remember in February or January of 2013, this had been going on for at least 1 month. So my guesstimate is around December, late December 2012. Boom. And I was awake. I had a connection to a bigger part of me that has always been there, and I knew that I wasn't anything special. It wasn't anything special with me. It was in everyone. But mine just woke up. It activated, right? They pressed the on button, the reboot. It was time to turn on, and with that, I experienced a huge bump in my intuitive abilities and in my healing abilities, which I've always been some sort of healer in one form of another. I've always, loved taking care of the weak and all those sorts of things, but not in the spiritual sense. Now, there was something in me that activated, and what I saw was, because my sister and I, we've been a little back and forth with this, with me being so into the metaphysical, the cosmic, the healing modalities, and I've been channeling, I've been doing all sorts of things. While she hasn't. She's been stationary. And she's been, a lot of the times she's been like, whoa, he's so far out there with all this stuff, but where am I going, And she's been comparing herself to me a lot of the time. And what I saw and what I got from the ayahuasca experience and my intuition, at this point, all the talking comes through my intuition, but with Mother Ayahuasca boosting the signal like crazy. It's like a 7G antenna on top of my head. I'm like, whoa, this intuition is crazy. And what it's telling me, my intuition, is that I mean, the two of us, I am half the circle and she's the other half. And together, two halves make a circle. Two half circles make a complete circle. And she's I've preferred to her as my anchor point. I think I did at the time as well. I preferred to her as my anchor point. And I said, and I felt that there is nothing that comes through me, be it energy through the hands, be it this thing I call light language. Crazy thing, guys. You should Google it. Crazy thing. Or if it's, the intuitive abilities, whatever it is, it's always through her first. So I saw that I am practically useless without her. So I kind of told her that, you are way more involved in this whole ordeal than you think, because we tend to look at it like two, like a dual, like through a dualistic lens, separate, right? We tend to look at it like you are you and I am me, and we're supposed to be twins, and we're really similar, but then we're totally different, and you have this and I don't, but it's all one. I saw that everything that comes through me, be it my first breath or whatever, comes through her first. Now, I talked about this sorrow that we shared, and I did that because I left Orion, I left you, and I left Dawn, and I left our collective. Because it's really important to imagine this entity, this consciousness of Orion, as a unity, as one huge entity, one hive mind, if you will. It's not exactly like a hive mind, but they're as connected as a hive mind, but they're operating more like individuals. So when I left this hive mind, or this, not hive mind, but this collective, when I left the Orion Collective, when my consciousness chose to leave the Orion Collective, with you right on my heels, by the way, and Dawn somewhere in there, I landed myself on Earth. Now, she, as my tutor, had agreed to incarnate at the exact same physical time, ergo twins, right? To share some of the grief, to share that excess energy of my grief and sorrow of leaving Orion to go on this mission on Earth. Now, what's also important is when I say I'm a starseed, or I resonate with the term starseed, I also feel like I am here for a reason. I came here with a purpose. I have a life purpose, a soul mission that I'm about to go and fulfill. And it's taken me like 26 years at this point to realize that I do have the mission, and the mission is of uttermost importance, but now I'm on it. It starts right here. And she is a huge part of that. And that's really important, that she knows that she is paramount to this. And everyone is, not just her, but I mean, if we're talking about my connections, my dualistic connections, she's really paramount. And it was crazy because at one point, the intuition, it was almost like clairvoyance. I could see into my mother's womb, and I could see us. We started out, I kid you not, as this light, this white light, and it was pure love, pure Love. And we morphed into this sort of, double fetus creature thing. And there, like from that point, I knew that was us in the womb. And I could feel what we started out. Our intention in this life is to come in and spread love in different ways. I spread a lot of love through knowledge. I spread a lot of love through the Orion Collective. That's sometimes, and I do know this, I thought I was crazy when I first realized this, but there is something speaking through me at certain times, masquerading as my own, ideas and my own stuff, but it's coming through me, and I don't even care who it is, because this is information, and it's love. And it's also channelings. It's like you said in the beginning, how interesting it is with sound. It's through the vibration of sound to help to raise our collective consciousness.
Yeah.
That's the life mission. And she's paramount in that. And I'm here for that. And there are so many other people that are here for that. And
we're here for that.
And if you're listening right now, and if you're one of us, I mean, one of everyone, we are all the same. And I'm not saying starseeds are better people. We are supposed to be humble, doing all of this with humility. Now, if you're listening, just know that you're not alone, because it's so important. It's paramount to know that you are not crazy and you are not cuckoo. Even though you might be experiencing this as a 10-year-old, I don't know, like you are not alone, and your help is so appreciated, man. Because we're all in this together.
Yeah. I just want to add something to that. Like this kind of, because that has been a huge part of my journey to, when you start getting this kind of intuitions that, one thing is to start trusting that, okay, there's probably more. It seems like that's legit. But another thing is when you need to start taking your own experiences seriously. Like, like you two are talking about now, this starseed and brothers and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
Like, whatever it is there is so much growth in actually taking it seriously.
Yeah, and embracing who you are.
Yeah,
right?
Embracing those kind of small like sensations that, okay, this idea, like what you talk about as well with when you looking at the stars. Like actually, one funny thing about that is like my journey has been for a while that certain people has told me that this, okay, you have connections to this kind of stars, these stars and these stars.
Yeah.
And when they speak to me and say it, I can sense, I get emotional and I feel like this longing, But then I go about my day and I start reflecting on it. why don't I get this connection?
Right.
Like why all these things? And then there's been different phases of it. And actually what I realized now when you talked about the 3 stars is that one thing is that I've heard someone else say the exact same thing.
Oh wow.
That they look at these 3
The Belt of Orion, yeah.
Yeah, and I talk about that, and I remember I heard it, but actually when you talked about it now, I realized, wow, I actually have the same experience.
Wow.
My childhood was looking at the stars. I was always stopping, looking at these 3 stars. You know? That's always been the symbol for me.
Wow.
Yeah, but I haven't actually realized it until now.
No, and I needed to go through that whole ayahuasca ordeal to realize, because I was always like, my mind was racing. My mind was searching. Where are you from?
Yeah.
I want to know my origin story. I need a movie, you know? But I was always wanting to know, always wanting to know. But then always when that happened, my intuition kept saying to me, don't ask, just live it. Yeah. Just trust that. Stop asking the questions. Just go with the flow. And then that feeling was so profound, and it had such velocity that I just, okay, I'll know eventually, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that's so important. I mean, in my journey as well, it's kind of like, okay, if I realize I start looking for things, I need to kind of sometimes stop myself and realize, okay, if I look for it now, it comes from this desperation of figuring it out. I need to trust that I will get to know when I'm ready for that. And then actually the progress goes faster as well, because you allow it to unfold.
And I think in a sense, it's like, I remember telling my dad this, because it's like it's sort of like coming out of the spiritual closet.
Yeah.
Because you really have to go out and leave the closet, because you can get stuck in the closet for so long. Oh yeah. And you can just be like, I'm a starseed, dude. Like, but fuck that, man. Embrace it.
Yeah.
Don't just be one. Inspire others to be themselves. That's the biggest thing you can do. That is the best gift you can give to everyone. Like, inspire people to find the truth within themselves. That's the top one you can do. And then also, our truths, our individual truths, they won't be the same. I mean, it'll be a little bit of this, a little bit of that, you know, and it'll differ in different ways. But what we can all agree on, what is universal among everything, is one thing, and that is the ultimate thing, and that is love.
Oh, damn, that love. That sweet, sweet love.
So
yeah.
I mean, people often say, like, well, I think it's actually Corey Good in Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia TV, or Gaia. He says in one of the episodes there, like, we talk about the Illuminati, and we talk about, you know, the powers that be, the cabal, whatever you want to call it, right? The bureaucracy, whatever. And he talks about, imagine what people can do when they come together and all they want is power. They're not, you know, they have their differences. They are so many individual groups coming together, but they agree on one thing, and that is, we want to keep the power. We want to, you know, we want to do everything in our power to keep the money and keep the power. What if we came together and we said that, okay, we want to do everything in our power to just be, to just accept each other. But that's the thing. We're divided. Instead of focusing on our differences, let's just focus on the similarities, because we are all one. And once we all start realizing that, the differences, they just fade away. Oh, you're white and I'm black, and you're tall and I'm skinny, and you're the opposite of me and this and that. No, it's all one. And with the love, man, I mean, the love I felt when you were talking about, you know, you doing the celebration and that sort of thing, and you were really loud. One of my tasks, I could feel that. It came in an intuitive spike. Something just said, go up to him and be with him throughout the whole thing. And I thought, okay. And I could see your cosmic journey. It appeared in front of me. And I was like, okay, he needs me right now. And I even went up to the shaman, the Taita, and I asked him, is it okay if I accompany him on this? And all I did was love you unconditionally. And that was the weirdest part, because you asked earlier, well, have you guys had doubts and that sort of thing on this whole brotherly cosmos ordeal?
Yeah.
No, not even once, because I felt the love emanating from this. And it's not, you can't fake that. You can't fake that. Jesus Christ, man, I love this man to death. I've never met this man ever in my life. And here he is. And I'm meeting him for the first time. We went through this reunion sort of thing. And I can sit through this shit with him. I mean, because you were loud and you were going through hell. And I was like, it doesn't even matter. We were dancing. We were doing the cosmic dance. I mean, I remember at one point, man, this guy can gouge my eyes out right now, or he can take his knee and just kickbox my head because your emotions were so violent and you were going through such a profound thing. But I was like, it's all love. And I didn't care. He could have bitten off my ear for all I cared. I'd love him to death. And that's sort of unconditional love. That was truly an experience for me, because I have never loved anyone as highly as I loved you that day, that evening. And it was just pure love. And I was just laughing through the whole thing. And it must have been an hour.
It lasted for eons. I don't know what to say, but the whole room, I trusted that room completely.
Yeah.
So I was roaming about like a madman with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
Because there was no doubt in my mind that you guys would pick me up when I fell, which you did. Mm-hmm. And it was all love. And even the bad things were love.
Yeah.
And I was just so overwhelmed, and it was so beautiful.
Because love is, in fact, behind it all.
Yes.
And like Jimi Hendrix said, that when the power of love overcomes the love for power, the world will know peace. And that is profound.
Yeah, that is profound. Wow. Damn.
It's been a profound episode.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
I have to break the silence. I saw this thing. Silence is the language of the awoken. So let's just be awake. Here now.
You've been listening to the Infinite Podcast with
Ulf Tønderflytter.
and me, Øystein Rabbe.
Thank you so much for listening. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify.
Yeah. And or on Facebook or...
Yeah, follow us on Facebook.
Yeah.
And also, we've now made a Patreon account.
Yes.
So if you like this podcast and would like to support us, go to Patreon and check out our Infinite Podcast site there. Your support would
would make
really
it
appreciate
possible
it.
for us to make more podcasts. It takes a lot of time. We enjoy it so much to do it, but we also have regular jobs to pay the bills, and our dream is to be able to do this full time.
Yeah, this is our full time.
And
This
we're taking
will be our full time
baby steps towards that dream, and we want to make more episodes and continue to share it with you. So that would be great. Actually, I realized when we talk about it, we haven't even explained what Patreon actually is. So
it's like a support site where you can support a business or
artist or
an artist or whatever
creator that makes something
with I guess like monthly donations. Could be like from $1 and upwards.
Yeah.
Right? So anything would be great. We would be so thankful. And you would be thankful because we're doing this for you.
Yeah. And it actually gives it's a good feeling sometimes to actually help the things you care about. So if you're listening to us and you care about us, but I mean seriously, it's a good thing to contribute to the things that matters to you. So
that will
we're
help
not
them grow.
asking you to pay unless you actually want to see this podcast grow and